Okay, this is a follow-up. I'm going to try and cover, how do I put this? It's sort of like reining in a lot of information that sort of represents what I call a composite. How you can hold in your state of consciousness a lot of information. It's like, imagine a puzzle that has 1,000,000 terabytes of information, which means in order to be aware of all the information that you're aware of that is holding, say, that story together, okay? Like your life cycle, all of your storied experiences that are recorded in memory, if you will, you have access to all that because you can represent that if you want to in bits and bytes of data or information or knowledge or experience, okay? That's your Akashic record, the record of your experiences here, particularly when you're in a classroom as a student. Okay, you have a student record, or what I call a student portfolio, just like you would in any classroom. You have an academic record when you go to any class, and you're given grades, right? Okay. Well, there's essentially one measurement, one scalar measurement in this classroom, and that is, did you learn how to attract more electrons at a higher speed? So if you have learned how to attract an enormous amount of electrons to power your light bulb, so you're a lighthouse, you graduate. Okay? It means you learned how light works. Remember I talked about that in an earlier video of how you attract a lot. So I thought before I go off to Robert David Steele, because I just watched, and all I need to do is just watch maybe 10 seconds of what he's talking about, bang. That's a measurement, another scalar measurement of how fast the data is raising the state of awareness in the mind of another being who's about 1,500 miles away from me. Because I know where he is and I know where I am. So we can measure the speed in which data is traveling through the circuits. That's the speed of the electrons that is carrying the information which people become aware of. So what's happening is the speed is going up in which the morphogenetic field structure is going to raise the state of awareness. That's going to accelerate the separation, isn't it? So people are able to decide. You can see who's moving with us and who isn't moving with us. Now we get into a couple things that I was experiencing it and why I was experiencing what I was experiencing at the time in which I was experiencing. These are all what I call data transactions. Data transfer. Data transfer is the speed transfer of the electrons. The power of the light, raise the awareness, move to other higher densities. Okay? So for example, see if you can tie this together. Robert David Steele is talking about Gretchen Whitmer, FBI entrapment. Okay? One of the reasons that I subscribe to Robert David Steele is because he's connected to the intelligence community. So even if he was the enemy, which I don't necessarily believe that he is, I simply look at Robert David Steele as a source of what? Data. That's it. Because as both a student and a teacher, I know exactly where we're going. Okay? So I realize, particularly when you know that you move through the cosmos so fast, okay, I might not ever meet the guy. Okay? I might not even meet anybody that's on this planet other than the ones that I have met, and when I'm aware of who they are and they become friends, I realize that when you move through the cosmos at an enormous rate of speed, all of a sudden they're gone in my memory. Because when you're in no time, which is no memory, things move, the waves in which you're experiencing move so fast, that which you manifest is immediate. It's immediate. There isn't any memory. So I realize I'm in what I call a temporal time zone. Okay, which means you're gone. I just forgot about you. You see, because the only thing that it represents in a very real sense is data. Okay? Then we get into spirit. That's a lot of what when I am, how do I put this, translating other beings that are communicating to me. A lot of times what I'll look at in terms of translating how that particular being is perceiving who it is that they are and the way that they perceive the cosmos they believe that they live in is how much they focus the information upon which they share when they share spirit, the meaning of spirit, what spirit is, how spirit lives in the light and travels through the cosmos versus the physical body. Okay? I don't have a picture that I could put up here, but I used to put it up on my Facebook page, a picture of Gaia, her spirit that is in the light, spinning. Okay? Patty shared that with me. So I used to put that up quite a bit. But I've seen her, okay? already, for example, on the Big Island, when a silhouette of a girl is presenting herself up through the magma, the fire. You could see the shape of the girl in the yellow flame through the magma that was coming up when the Kilauea volcano erupted on the Big Island. Yeah, there she is. Okay? That's consciousness coming up through the living magma of her energy. And when you are around her, that is producing such high-speed stuff, man, you realize you're plugged into a high-frequency transformer. My God. It's driving on those electrons to power your light. So remember I talked about I absorbed all that energy, hold on to all that energy, and then broadcast it out, see? So just like the other experience I shared when I went to La Hoi Hoi for the first time, never been there in my entire life, at least that I can remember, and when I got there I started crying for 20 minutes. I'm experiencing the pain of souls that were there and didn't know that it was 1947 as a result of a tsunami that hit that place. It caused all that destruction as a result of a nuclear blast up in the Aleutians. So what I was doing is that I'm experiencing lower frequency energy of pain and suffering, okay, that occurred, 70 plus years ago. How's that work? Because you're absorbing all of the different energies that exist within the minus and the plus of the time loop between past, present, and future. So that's why an empath who is a healer, an alchemizer, okay, because of the higher speed transmissions of the normal, what I call no density consciousness, okay, because we don't hold anything captive, okay, we want to be free in spirit, to move as fast as we can move, to experience everything there is to experience, and essentially alchemize, raise the fire that is in our light, to restore that which is pure, which is our spirit, wherever we go. Remember I talked about that? Okay. So before I move on to the other stuff to close this memory-driven video, has to do with, I mentioned in the first one I did this morning about things that I don't recommend. But I will share this with you to give you an idea of how a student and a teacher, or a teacher and a student, will do certain things because of what we know, which is Gnosis, which is self-knowledge. Because we understand how light works, okay? So for example, I mentioned once before about the girl in Africa that I had sent that money to, and how I was wrapped in spirit and kept toasty warm and nothing ever happened to me. The same principle of unconditional love, of ancient, what I call eternal knowledge, because we're eternal living spirit that lives in the hottest light, which is the hottest fire that speeds those electrons, the power of that light, in a physical avatar, okay? Which allows us to have a high magnetic shield that is impervious, that can't be penetrated by psychic attacks and demonic communication technology. That's the essence of a spiritual war, okay? Remember, InfoWars, which is energy communication wars, consciousness versus consciousness, density versus density, lower density versus higher density. So you're always in restoring the density mode here to restore the higher density that you know is your home, even though my home is through my heart, which is 0 point, which is zero density, if you will, consciousness, pure spirit. Okay? So, for example, I met a girl online who, if you will, wanted to test me, okay? And said, okay, I'm a girl, you're a boy. Show me how much unconditional love that you have for me. Show me the power of unconditional love because you live in the light. And I said, okay, well, what would you like me to do? She goes, I want you to go to an ATM machine. I said, okay. So I went to an ATM machine, and she goes, I want you to check your balance. And I want you to take a picture of that ticket that comes out of that ATM machine, and I want to see it. I said, okay, I'll do that. And I did it, okay? And I was about a half a block away from a Walmart. okay? And, of course, I already know what she's going to do, right? When you got a looking glass, you already know the result of what's going to happen out of this and why it's going to happen the way that it's going to happen. Okay? Because remember, I'm already aware of the relationship that I have with this and with the purpose and the meaning of why this is a classroom. Okay? That's why we're the teachers down here. Remember? Okay, so the woman says, okay, show me the picture. So I took a snapshot with my camera and I put it up. She goes, send it all to me. You want all my money? Yeah. If you're true to your word, you're going to do that. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go over to that Walmart and buy, how many was it? I think 8 iTunes cards. Okay? And then what I want you to do is take pictures of the iTunes cards so that I have the numbers off the barcodes. Okay? See how this works? Are you willing to do that? Now I begin to realize I'm being tested. So I thought to myself, now I can do this. Now I know that I'm going to survive no matter what if I do this. Okay? Because when you do things like this, it's not about money. It's about the fact that you're trying to teach the girl a lesson of unconditional love. She wants to see whether or not you're willing to give up all your money because you know that you're not going to suffer any pain and suffering even if you do that, because you're not what the money is. You are where you are in spirit, living in the light because you burn so much fire, because you have so much love for who I am, that you're willing to give me all your energy so that we can be together as one. You see, a reflection of each other. With that much fire, with that much love, running that much light and living spirit between a boy and a girl. So I know how this works, okay? Remember, I learned through a spiritual goddess, through my biological mother. Remember the first sound vibration, okay? So the essence of what I'm trying to do here is to impart to a girl, particularly when a girl has been traumatized and her heart is cold, okay, how much this means from a teacher and a student perspective, that she will begin to realize, wow, he was willing to do that, to put himself at risk of being on the street where he's got no money, no way to get around. And this is an old man willing to do this for me, a young woman. She will never, ever forget that experience from what she learned from that. Okay? Because the being that does that knows that no matter what, I will experience by that attracting more electrons. But this is where the teacher and the student, and the teacher, if you will, what I don't do is I don't play games with my goddess. Okay? Which means I'm not doing this just to play games. Okay? Because I know better than that. There has to be true intent, which is called the intent of your consciousness, the intent of your spirit, the intent of a teacher, or the intent of a student with another student, or the intent of a student and a teacher, or a teacher and a student, to impart how powerful unconditional love is. Because the bottom line is, in any classroom here in the Milky Way, is to learn how light works, how to attract more electrons naturally, so you become your own powerhouse. Okay? You're choosing your own density consciousness pathway. Okay? By the teachers that you choose to hang out with and learn from how energy works, so that you can master your own energy. And the easiest way to know how this works is using your accelerator with your heart and soul and your living spirit. And when you know that you're connected with the great living spirit of the goddess in a classroom, you're already home. And when you know these things, you know these things. That's called self-knowledge. Okay? And that's why the heart has to protect what you know, which is forever, which is what you are in living spirit, which is eternal light, in which that spirit is communicating that much fire, that much love, that much kindness, that much compassion, that much empathy, living in a state of peace. Right? So I thought I'll leave that there and then do my last one for the day, which deals with a guy named Tucker Carlson on Fox News. He had an episode last night where he was talking to a guy named Mike Rowan, and this is called Work Ethic. And I'm going to tie in. He mentioned something before I leave this particular video, where apparently he was giving out $5 million scholarships, I think it was, or he had $5 million in scholarship money to teach young people about ethics, work ethics, and how does work ethic, the notion of what it means to have a work ethic, okay? And in the relationship that we have with everything else that we experience, okay? And so since we have jobs, which represent the acquisition of energy translated through money, okay, you can translate that through the minus slash the plus side of the speed at which you're going and how many electrons you are accumulating or attracting to go faster, okay? So it's not about money, it's about energy. So one of the things that came out of that discussion that Tucker Carlson on Fox News had with this guy is how, I guess, not frustrated or disappointed, it's simply you become aware of, how do I put it, what's happening. And that was, which side are we going? The plus side or the minus side? So what you find out from the study that he was able to do from all the data that he acquired from what he's experiencing by the nature of those scholarships representing ethic is how many young people are going in reverse, which is the parasitic side and not the energy production side. And that gets into a previous video I talked about what I call breeding parasites, which means parasitic consciousness has been programmed into this consciousness of young people, okay, in which they become dependent on the energy producers and feel that I'm entitled to your energy without using any of my energy to go fast. You see what happens? That's low density consciousness. That's heavier density consciousness. We have a lot of heavy density consciousness on this planet as a result of what the dark did through programming, parasitic programming into the operating system, because your cells have a membrane, memory, and a chip. When you put information into the chip that is processed, thus recorded in memory, that they operate off of as a result of what they become aware of, instead of what they learn to become an energy service provider by attracting more electrons to power the light. And instead they're going in reverse, which means they're feeding on that which is there that they believe that they're entitled to without going the other way. It means they're going in reverse. That means they're feeding on our light. That was something I mentioned about a scalar measurement of which way we're going between one side of the equation and the other side of the equation in speed. Loss of light, loss of light, and gaining light. Losing speed, gaining speed. What density consciousness field do you want to operate in? Okay? That's everybody's choice based on what we learn through the girl in the classroom.